Hi BookTube. I'm here today with a weekly update for my reading. I am out of my reading slump. I'm also a little sunburned because I went out with work to we call it the Frex. It's not really anything close to the Toronto exhibition. It's more just like a little fall fair thing. Yeah, so I got a little sun, and we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about reading. I'm just explaining why I'm a little red. So, I don't know what I last talked about, but this is where I'm getting tired. The Strange Scent of Saffron by Melina Babin. This was really good. I read it all in one sitting. It's 170 pages. Really good story. So we're following two people mainly. There's some other perspectives, but mainly it's these two people. The first one is this woman, and it's not really her perspective. So her name's Nil, and we don't really get her mind. We kind of get other people observing her, and one of those characters is a semi-domesticated fox that she has with her, as she's running away from her brother and her uncle in this kind of shifty situation, and she's not 100% socially normal. There's like some things off about her, but it's not explicitly stated. It's just seen in her actions and the way she interacts with people and stuff like that. And the opening scene, how she gets introduced to the other character, is she goes to this restaurant and she knows she can't afford to pay the bill at this fancy restaurant, just orders food, dines and dashes, and then ends up spending the night at this guy's place, not in like a sexual way. He's just like, hey, yeah, you can sleep on the floor if you want, here's some food. I know you're in a tough time. That's how we get introduced to the other guy, and we do get inside his head. And he is dying of AIDS, and is a chef. So it's really quite interesting seeing these two perspectives of these two people. I'm there's just something about Quebecois literature. This is written by a Quebecois. When I say Quebecois, I mean like if you're not from Canada, you may not be familiar with the term. That's like people from the province of Quebec, French-speaking province. I've been really enjoying a lot of their books lately, and this is one of them. Yeah, I didn't tag anything, but that doesn't mean I didn't like it. I just didn't want to take the time to do it. I was just so involved in the story and these characters. They're so fascinating and interesting. Yeah, and just that right bit of strange. Yeah. And then I read another red book. It was a little red theme. And this is The Sorrow of War by Bao Ninh. And so this is compared to All Quiet on the Western Front, but for the Vietnam War. So we were following a Vietnamese soldier. It's hard to explain. It is very non-linear. He talks about it at some points too, that he's just jumping all over the place, just going where the story takes him. So we start off, it's post-war, and he is involved in collecting bodies from the Jungle of Screaming Souls. And it's fascinating. I really liked it, and it really kept me engaged because it was jumping all over the place. It was jumping to when he was a kid, to in the war, to after the war, to his father, and it was like, but it flowed so well. And then there were times even where it jumped from, third person perspective into first person perspective, and then it got really autobiographical because the author himself had fought in the Vietnam War, and the character is also an author writing about his experience in the Vietnam War. Yeah, it is really good. Aside from the war and fighting, and one of the main storylines is him, and how his romantic relationship was affected by the war, which was really quite sad, and quite graphic. Just letting you know, this book is very graphic, lots of content warnings. I'm just going to pull open a random tab and read. Okay, The sorrow of war inside a soldier's heart was in a strange way similar to the sorrow of love. It was a kind of nostalgia, like the immense sadness of a world at dusk. It was a sadness of missing a pain which could send one soaring back into the past. The sorrow of the battlefield could not normally be pinpointed to one particular event or even one person. If you focused on any one event, it would soon become a tearing pain. It was especially important, therefore, to avoid, if possible, focusing on the dead. Yeah, it is really, really worthwhile to read this, for sure. Definitely do that. And then I just finished this a few days ago, The Unit by Nini Holmquist. Sure. I was supposed to read The Sacred Origin of Things, but that is more just like, almost like a textbook, reference book. I didn't want to read like 1,000 pages of that, so I set that aside and picked up this and another book, but we'll talk about that in a second. Anyway, so this is The Unit by Nini Holmquist. This is, okay, so in, I don't know, she mentions both Sweden and Finland, so somewhere in Northern Europe, there's this future kind of dystopian. If you are a single motherless or single childless woman over 50 or man over 60, you are sent to this unit. And there, everything seems great. You're given, you don't have to worry about money anymore. You're given luxury meals, your own apartment. You can pursue any, hobby, craft, anything you want. The only thing is you have to be subject to different medical experiments, including psychological pills, and you have to donate organs, and eventually you're going to be made to do a final donation, which you'll donate a vital organ, and you can no longer live. So these people are known as dispensables because they haven't contributed anything to society, i.e. children, and so that's the thing about this, is exploring age, exploring relationships. It's not that our main character didn't want to be a mother, it's just that it just never happened for her. Exploring what people can contribute to society. It was also a lot about capitalism. There were some great points. I don't know any in particular off the top of my head here about the body being capital, as in like being money, and the reason that they're now dispensables, that they have to use their bodies in some way to further the economy. Probably further back here. I don't know. That's too sad of a passage to read about her dog. She had to leave him behind. Okay, here we go. So she's talking to a psychologist, and he's asked her what the purpose of what the meaning of life is, and she says, well, I said, we don't really know. The state or industry or capitalism or the mass media are all for our industry and capitalism the same thing. Anyway, those who safeguard growth and democracy and welfare, they're the ones who own my life. They own everyone's life, and life is capital. A capital that is divided fairly among the people in a way that promotes reproduction, growth, welfare, and democracy. I'm only a steward taking care of my vital organs. So that was an interesting look at all these different topics, and an interesting ending too. It doesn't necessarily end the way that you want it to end, but it's an interesting exploration at the end. Gonna leave it vague because I don't want to spoil it, because it is well worth reading. So then I picked up Prince of Dogs, which I had set down before, and I read like almost 180 pages in this of what I had left, but I just wasn't picking it up and reading it as fast as I wanted to, and it was really, I felt like it was dragging me down. And it's not the story. Like, once I get in there, it's good. I don't know, there's something like the size, the pages, something just wasn't clicking. And it's not the story or the characters. I love the story and the characters. It's just, I don't know. So it's not like a strong DNF. It's just like I just can't push my way through this right now. So instead, I'm picking up this today. I intended to maybe get some reading done at work, and it didn't happen. I just got home from work. Like, I don't even know what time it is. There's no. I use my phone as a clock. About an hour ago, I just had to chill for a little while before I can hop into reading Snow Crash. Yeah, this is a classic. What's it called? Oh my gosh. Cyberpunk. That's the word I was looking for. A classic cyberpunk, early cyberpunk novel. It says back here, a cross between Neuromancer and Thomas Pynchon's Vineland. So we follow a guy named Hero, protagonist. Yes, seriously, that's what the character's name is. And this world that's like this virtual reality, kind of like The Sims, but where like you can create your own, like it's a virtual reality version of The Sims, kind of. It's how when I first read it, I was approaching it, and then there's puzzles in there to do with language and stuff like that. It's been a while since I've read this. I've been wanting to reread it for a while. I first listened to it on audiobook, so I'm excited to get into this. I'll tell you more about it next week, I guess, when I'm done reading it. I think that's it. Let me know what you're reading this week, and thank you for watching.